So I'd like to start with a little confession. And the confession is this. When I was thinking about this talk, I had loads of ideas. So many ideas that, in fact, I was overwhelmed. I had 2 friends take me out to dinner because I was in despair about being overwhelmed from all the ideas. But at the bottom of every single idea was the same message. And the message was really, how do we connect the heart and the mind? And so every single talk had that message. And it's not actually because Valentine's Day is around the corner, by the way, although that might be good in itself. But it was actually something deeper. So if you fall asleep in the next 10 minutes, I don't recommend it. My nugget, my idea is this. Allow your heart to drive you. And use your brain, your logical brain, to help you figure out how to navigate that road. Because that, in my experience, is what brains have been built to do. And if you can do that well, you'll be happy, and you'll be successful, and life will be actually quite wonderful. So what do I mean when I talk about these things? So by brain, by that thing, I mean the stuff in our heads, the stuff we use every day to get us through, the stuff that talks to us that says, you did this right, you did this wrong, not so good, try again, here's another idea. The bit that makes us think, and think, and think, and as the previous speaker spoke, and think some more. Sometimes we're even tired of all that thinking. By heart, I don't mean the bit that's on a postcard that you send to someone you love on the 14th of this month. But what I do mean is that gooey, tender, soft bit of you. The bit of you that might say, I love, I care, I'm scared, I forgive. The bit that feels. That's the bit that I mean by that. So I'd like to ask you to imagine that you are a little vehicle, a little car, driving through life, okay? And in the front of that car, behind the wheel, is your logical brain. It's got the little steering wheel and it's gripping really hard. It's got the gas pedal, it's got all the gears. And let's face it, we live in a fast world, so it's a go, go, go. Navigate, navigate. And somewhere on the back of the seat is your heart. And I'll have a second confession to make, because my heart, for parts of my life, hasn't really sat on the back seat. It's sat in the trunk. Because let's face it, in the trunk, it was safer. A lot safer. Yeah. And as someone recently said to me, sometimes the heart is actually in the parking lot while they go to work. And some people that I deal with don't even know what I'm talking about when I say feelings. They actually don't really connect with that. So we have this sort of different positions of these two things that are ultimately really together. And my point is that wherever the heart is in your car, if it's not behind the wheel, it's got no wheel. It's got no gas pedals. It's got not really very much, because there are 2 problems with the logical brain driving. One of them is that it's really fast. It cuts corners. It doesn't always like to admit that it doesn't know. And the other thing is that the heart is actually very soft. So it's soft-spoken, provided it's still in the car. And maybe it isn't. So what might that look like? This conversation, this bit of inner conflict. Well, it might look like this. The heart might say, I love her no matter what. And the logical brain might come, are you crazy? You live in different towns. You're into different things. You don't really have time. You have to start your business. This is not a good idea. This isn't going to work out. At work, the heart might say, oh, I don't really like being here. I don't think this company and I really connect. But the brain, the logical bit, might say, you can't quit this job. It's a tough job market, right? You got to pay your mortgage. What are you thinking? Silly, right? In our relationships, the heart might say, I just want to be honest. I want to be really honest with you. I want to connect with you. And the brain might say, ooh, dangerous, dangerous. Too much honesty, not so good. Let's play it safe. And in all aspects of our life, what I'm noticing is that hard bit, what it wants to do is it wants to be. It just wants to be. It wants to be present. It wants to be real. And the logical bit of our brain might go, let's do what works. And that's where the problem is. That's where that disconnection happens. And when that disconnection happens, there's a lot of suffering. So in the workplace, this might mean that when those two are disconnected, you get a lot of disengaged people. You might get people who come to work, don't really know why they're there. They feel unmotivated. They don't really feel heard. They might have ideas, but those ideas are not heard, and so on. So not really good for business. But what about in our lives where I'm really looking at? What about in our communities and in our relationships, including the relationship you have with yourself? What happens when you're disconnected there? Well, actually, similarly to what we heard so far, you might not be very happy. You might be getting up and not feeling very fulfilled. Or you might be looking for the next best thing and always feeling like it's the next best thing and the next best thing, and it's just never there. It's always elusive because they're not connected. And so I would like to make a case why letting the hard drive is actually a really good idea. Here's my evidence. As we heard so far, passion beats know-how any day. I'm sure you know someone who has followed their passion, and at the end of the day, even if it took them a little while longer, even if they made mistakes, they somehow got there, or were in the process of getting there, because the know-how is limited to the present moment. The brain only knows what it knows today, but I might meet many of you this afternoon and come up with loads of new great ideas. So my know-how will continuously change, but my passion, my heart, stays actually pretty constant. So passion is really, really important for us. Let's look at ordinary heroes, without the E in between. Basically, ordinary heroes are like you and I. They're everyday people who manage to go into a building and pull people out of a fire, who manage to stop traffic because there's a baby crossing and it's unsafe. And if in that moment they were doing the logical thing, they'd be going, are you crazy? You're not the professional here. You shouldn't be doing this. But they're not. They're going with their humanity. They're putting that aside. And that allows them to be superheroes. People that we look up to, people that inspire us. And there's people like that every single day. In my neighborhood, I've met at least 5 of them. People who set up businesses, people who look after elderly, people who do ordinary things, and they are heroes. And I think that's lovely. But that's everyday examples. So let's look at neuroscience. Well, neuroscience says to us that emotions are not somewhere in the body. They're actually represented in the brain. There's work, beautiful work that you might have heard from Antonio Damasio, most popular neuroscientist, but people like Joseph Ledoux from New York, where I grew up, and many other scientists are finding and locating emotion to all parts of the brain, the sort of lizard part of the brain, but also to our cortex, the bit of brain that we use for driving every day. So that's really important. And equally in psychology, we have psychological experiments around people's behavior. And what we see is that those two systems, that emotional system and that logical system, they each make mistakes. And those mistakes are hilarious. Imagine top-level mathematicians getting the most basic mathematical problem wrong. Now, isn't that funny? And they get it wrong because emotionally, they think they got it right. So we can fool them. So that again tells us that actually, why would we choose? Why would we put one somewhere else? And why would we just think that touchy-feely might not be so good for work? Or maybe being honest with you is not so good. It's not safe. No, we shouldn't do that. And finally, I'm sure all of you know, and as we have just been speaking about in this last section, most of us live in such a complex world, the world that's getting more technologically advanced and complicated. At the end of the day, most of us want to switch off. We actually don't want to think that much. We don't want the logical brain behind the wheel. We want to kind of send it to the trunk for a bit of sleep or rest. So something else has to take over. And it's maybe it could be the heart. And for me personally, I can have a chess game beat me at chess. I can have one day the MIT labs produce, a beautiful looking, human looking thing that will simulate all my responses. And at the end, I really wonder if it will ever understand grief that I might feel when I lose someone I love. I don't think so. Nor will the person with 500 links on LinkedIn or Facebook who has no one to call at 3 o'clock in the morning when they want a friend to talk to. So there is something in there about finding a way to realign and bring together our heart and mind. So how do we do that? I work with people whose hearts whisper. And every year, for the last few years, I've been running a leadership program that is based purely on ambition. Not on KPIs, not on some sort of specific goals, but on ambition. And ambition is a very funny word because ambition is your heart talking to you that you can do better, that you're capable of more. And so these people come on the program and they come, funny enough, to start off with the rational, logical things. I mean, after all, I'm known for productivity. I help people to think better, right? So they might start off with goals and they might start off with time management and everything in between. But at some point, let's say they reach those things and they go, feels empty. Or they might sort of discover that there's more, that they've reached this and, oh my God, I look around and I could be doing this on a world scale. And their heart begins to talk to them. And sometimes it screams to them from the parking lot. Or sometimes they find it's not in the car. And so what do we do there? And what do they do? Well, that's the how. The how is about noticing, about listening in for whether you've got your brain talking to you, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and looking at what your heart might be saying to you. What's there? And sometimes what's there is love. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's a need. And that's okay. Because that's what these people are doing. They're using those rational strategies to address what their heart is saying. So what they're doing is they're allowing their heart to drive by getting the brain to be able to help them do that. And that's what brains are really designed to do. So I have a question for you, which is the following thing. In your car, where would you like your heart to sit? Would you like it to be in a trunk? Or would you like it to drive you? Because that's really important. I think all of us in this room, I think every person I've ever met can be superhuman. No doubt about it. People are usually actually scared in my programs about how much they're able to achieve, both through themselves and through others. So the choice really is yours. But I would really want to inspire you to dare to put your heart at the front of the wheel.